Okay, I'm going to show you real quick how to create a filterable list of students from your Teams rosters. So if you click onto Teams, sign in, you have icons over here. You're going to want to click on Report Profiles. So from here, you're going to click Student, Scheduling, Student Roster, Teacher Grid for Microsoft Excel. You do want the Excel spreadsheet. All of this is going to populate for you. You just need to click on Today. Request this report and click OK. So then if you click on Report Queue, you have your report. It's in progress, but I'm going to click on this one because I just ran it a minute ago. My computer forces a save. Yours might go ahead and just pop up. I have to click Save, and then I can open it here. Click Enable Editing. So the first thing we're going to do is insert a column, to the left. So click Insert. What I'm going to put here is the period. So this information here tells me about my first class. It's my fourth period, so I'm going to put a 4 here and drag down for those students. This period down here is first period. You get that black plus sign and drag down a bit too far. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete the rest of these students because I only need to show you with a couple classes. You would do this for all of your students. So now what I'm going to do is delete this extra information. So I'm going to highlight everything down to the first student's name, right click, delete. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to highlight everything down to that first student's name, right click, delete. So now I just have my students' names and I have their period numbers to the left. I'm going to go back in a minute to insert headers, but I'm not going to do that yet. So now what you do is highlight column B, click Data in your menu bar, and Text to Columns. Click Next. The first one that we're going to do is just the comma. We want to separate the last name from the first middle. So then click Next, click Finish, click OK, and now we have a whole column with just last names. If they're hyphenated, if they're a junior or they're the second, they're still all in that first column. So now we're going to do this again. So highlight C, Text to Columns, Next. This time, instead of the comma, we're going to do a dash. That's going to separate our first middle from our ID numbers. So then click Next, click Finish, click OK. And now we have a column that's all ID numbers. But I really need these ID numbers over here so that I can separate out the rest of these first names and middle names. So I'm going to highlight column D. I'm going to right click and cut. Then I'm going to come over, I'm going to click the column that I want this to be before. So I want it before their last name. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert cut cells. What that does is I just moved all my ID numbers to column B. I still have my last name, my first and middle names. So now, highlight column D, text to columns again. This time we're just going to do spaces. You'll notice it left column D empty. It's because there was a space before their before their first name, because it was last name, comma, space, first name. But that doesn't matter. I'm just going to delete column D. Move my first names over. Now, before you delete any information, scan through it because I have a student, the student here, she goes by her first and middle name. So I am going to copy her middle name and paste it after her first name. So now it's in one column and I can delete all the middle names. I'm going to scan through, make sure nobody else goes by their middle name or I've done something wrong. Once I once I check, I'm going to click delete. And now I'm going to click on my first row, right click, insert, and now I have period, ID, last name, first name. So now I have a spreadsheet that can be inserted into a grading app, or I can use this if I want to add my computer numbers over here. I can use the same spreadsheet. If you highlight your first row and you click the filter button, you can change this to only show you first period. So there's my first period kids. You could change it to only show you kids whose, you could change it to alphabetical last names, so sort A to Z, regardless of what period they're in. There's lots of ways that this now is helpful to have, okay? So I hope this helps. Let me know if you need anything else.